It has been 3 months since Ukraine launched its counteroffensive. The objective was to beat back the Russians. However, it didn't go as planned. Russian forces held their ground, and Ukraine has been unable to make considerable gains. So, what did Kyiv do? They changed their tactics. They took the fight into Russia. Drone attacks have become common in two parts: Russia's capital Moscow and the highly contentious Crimea. But Russian President Vladimir Putin is no pushover. He's fully committed to his military operation in Ukraine, and he considers attacks on Crimea an act of war. On multiple occasions, Putin has threatened Ukraine and the West with nuclear war.
The use of tactical nuclear weapons by Russia is theoretically possible. For Russia, it is possible only in the case of real threat to our territorial integrity, independence and sovereignty, and the existence of the Russian state.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, is stronger than ever. The group started out as a security pact in 1949. It had 12 signatories when it was formed. Today, NATO has 31 members. 29 are in Europe and 2 are in North America. This year, the security bloc got a new addition, Finland, taking NATO's spread even closer towards Russia. Ever since the bloc was founded, it has only expanded, and it didn't stop after the Soviet Union collapsed. It crept in closer and closer to Russia's doorstep, which became one of the main reasons for Putin's special operation in Ukraine. NATO and Russia have never gone to war, but they're sitting on a fine line. Even the slightest incident could lead to an all-out battle. This could happen in a few possible ways. Tensions in the Black Sea have increased drastically. Ever since Moscow pulled out of the grain deal, Russia constantly hits Ukrainian grain ports and ships in the Black Sea. However, NATO ships and aircraft also patrol the waters. One miscalculation and Russian missiles could hit the NATO vessels. Another possibility of NATO and Russia going to war would be if a Russian strike that was intended for Ukraine lands up in neighboring NATO countries like Poland, Slovakia, Hungary or Romania. Article 5 in NATO's charter says that all NATO members will defend each other. An attack on one is an attack on all. However, NATO is also to be blamed for the heightened tensions. The more NATO supplies arms to Ukraine, the closer it gets to a direct confrontation with Russia. An all-out war between NATO and Russia would certainly mean World War III, and it would be a catastrophe. But if NATO and Russia enter the battlefield, how exactly will the scenario play out? Let's look at the numbers. On paper, NATO has an upper edge over Russia in terms of boots on the ground. NATO has almost 6 million soldiers compared to Russia's 1 million, a 6-to-1 ratio advantage. But Russia has the advantage in ground firepower. Moscow has almost 13,000 tanks, 1,000 more than what NATO has. Offensive campaigns require a crucial weapon, artillery guns. When compared to NATO, Russia enjoys a massive advantage. Moscow has almost 28,000 artillery equipments. These include rocket launchers and self-propelled artillery guns. In comparison, NATO has a total artillery strength of nearly 20,000. It seems that on ground, Russia can hold its weight against NATO. But things change when the air and naval arms are considered. NATO's air power is leaps and bounds larger than Russia's, whether it's fighter jets, transport aircraft or helicopters. NATO enjoys a 4:1 ratio in the air. Even in the seas, numbers don't speak too well for Russia. The combined navies of the NATO members makes their naval force almost twice as large as Russia's. But there is something that gives Russia the advantage: nuclear weapons. Russia has almost 6,000 nuclear warheads. It's more than the combined nuclear arsenal of nuclear-capable NATO members like the US, France and the UK. Russia has so many nuclear warheads that it can nuke the entire world many times over. Even if NATO has the advantage in numbers, the threat from Russia's nuclear weapons outweighs everything. NATO's game plan is to have a weak Russia, while Moscow's plan is to stop NATO's expansion. And who got caught in between? Ukraine. Despite giving Kyiv Western tanks, HIMARS artillery and missiles, the counteroffensive has not given the promised results. Ukraine is taking heavy losses on the front line, and NATO is supplying more arms. Now Kyiv will get the combat-proven F-16 fighter jets. These jets are capable of dropping nuclear bombs. But Putin is certain that the F-16 jets won't pose a challenge.
The supplies of heavy military weaponry to Ukraine are ongoing. They are now looking into giving Ukraine the jets. I've already said earlier that at one sector of the front line, there were attempts to attack by the two companies supported by 5 tanks. At another sector, there was also a company and a half with the help of 2 tanks. The tanks are burning. Several tanks are destroyed, including Leopards. Yesterday was the same. There were Leopards yesterday. They are burning. F-16 fighters will be burning too, no doubt.
Russia needs a lot more if it plans on matching NATO's military might, and it looks like Putin is creating an alliance of his own. Belarus has always been a close ally of Russia. President Alexander Lukashenko meets Putin regularly. They have met 7 times just this year. Russia also stations its nuclear missiles in Belarus. Clearly, the Moscow-Minsk friendship is very strong. Russia and China have also taken their ties to new heights. Joint military drills and combat patrols have become common. Putin and President Xi Jinping refer to each other as friends, and they agree that ties between Moscow and Beijing have never been better. Lately, Putin has found another ally, North Korea's leader Kim Jong. In fact, Kim recently visited Russia. He even met Putin for bilateral talks. He was shown Russia's nuclear-capable bombers and hypersonic missiles. Kim got a chance to check out Russia's most advanced stealth fighter, the Su-57. Clearly, Putin trusts Kim Jong-un. From the looks of it, it looks like Putin is forming a team, something similar to NATO. If Russia, Belarus, China and North Korea form a security pact, they will pose a major challenge to the US and NATO. All of Putin's allies have large armies, navies and air forces. With Russia's nuclear warheads deployed in Belarus, the 4 nations are fully nuclear capable. A Russia-NATO conflict would be catastrophic because it would go beyond Europe. If North Korea and China get dragged in, Asia too will see the clouds of war. This is not something anybody would want, but as long as NATO keeps inching towards Russia, Putin will continue preparing for a war against NATO. It looks like neither side wants to give up without a fight, and the two foes are edging each other to make the first move. The question remains, who will blink first, NATO or Putin?